Hi guys, welcome back to Irish Footy Vlogs. Welcome back to another show. This is the first division show, looking ahead to the games, giving my predictions for the games on Friday. Every game is on Friday this week in the first division. We're back to a full program. Obviously, the cup last year, and some of these teams are involved in the cup last week. I think I said last year a second ago. Um, and first up is Wexford, who were involved in the cup last week and had a win against Patrick CY. Not very convincing, but it was a win. But they've a tougher tie this week in the league when they take on Athlone Town. But it's a big game. It's a big game for Wexford as well, and a big game for Athlone. And it's 5 points between them in the table. Athlone fourth, Wexford fifth. Um, Wexford are 3 points ahead of Bray now, who are outside the playoff position. So they'll be looking to get something out of this game. Athlone fairly free scoring, aren't they? The third high scorers in the league. Only Waterford and Galway have scored more goals than Athlone this season. France Perrault has been hitting the back of the net in regular basis, 14 goals this season for him. It's been a very good signing, very sharp. The worry for Athlone is that, will they have him next season? That'll be the question as well. But he's been in flying form. Athlone probably be itching for this game because they haven't played now in a couple of weeks. Home, as I said, in the Athlone Stadium, AstroTurf pitch. Wexford, very inconsistent this season. Probably most people would have expected better from them. However, they are in the playoff positions now ahead of Bray at this minute in time. So it's a steady job, I think James Keddy's doing at the club, to be honest. It's a steady job. And a win here puts them 2 points behind Athlone and really gives them a possible extra spot, let's say, to fight in the playoffs. Whereas a win for Athlone would put them eight clear of Wexford. And you'd have to say, win for Athlone, even at this point, which would be after 28 games, you'd have to say they're looking really good for a playoff place if they could win this game. So it's a big game for both teams in that sense. I think there will be goals in this game. There will be goals in this game. Be very surprised if Athlone don't score and be very surprised if Wexford don't concede. Ultimately, I see it's as simple as this. I see Athlone score more goals in the night than Wexford. So I think Athlone might pinch the win here. I'll go Athlone 2, Wexford 1. Bray Wanderers mentioned them a second ago. They'll be playing the Carlisle grounds against Waterford, and I think their defeat against Dundalk last week in the cup, they should take some encouragement from this. They're going to have to really because they've been poor. They've been poor for a long time this season, conceding far too many goals. Conceded 48 in the league. Only the bottom two, Finn Harps and Kerry, have conceded more. It's not great, is it? Um, they brought in a lot of good players. We've mentioned it before. I expected better from them. They still have a chance to get into the playoffs. Um, but with Athlone and Wexford playing each other, you couldn't necessarily say that this is an opportunity for Bray as such because Waterford are a good side. That said, Waterford were well beaten last week, but Cork, Ronan Coughlin is out of this game. The squad and the recruitment, I talked about in the FAI Cup show, really, but the recruitment hasn't been, especially this window, I don't think it's been great, to be honest with you. There's some good players they brought in. I think Parsons is a decent player that they brought in at the start of the season. Pattison hasn't really done it. Serge Atakai wasn't a fan when he was at Pat, so at all. So I don't know. Keith has been playing on the right hand side of the fence. Campbell isn't in the team. I don't know. It's a strange one with Warford at the moment. There's a strange. I don't know. There's another. I don't know. It's a cloud over the club, but there's a strange vibe, isn't there, at Waterford again? And they're miles behind Galway, which is something that is kind of fair enough to a degree because you're thinking they need to get into a position there where they're focusing on. They will finish second, like the 12 clear of Cove, but get into a position where they're focusing on the playoffs. Maybe in other years they would have thought, that when they didn't get up that they were real contention to win the league. But they obviously aren't in contention to win the league this season. And they'll be hoping Coughlin's not out for long though, to be fair, because he's been a machine this season. He's broke all the records really, as we know. But Bray need to bring some of that I don't know, they were only beaten narrowly by Dundalk, and it was a late goal, a Daryl Horgan goal. So they need to. I'm sure Ian Ryan will be, letting them know that look, there's an opportunity here. Dundalk, we did well against them. Waterford aren't as good as Dundalk, so I do feel Bray will get something out of this game. I really do. I'm gonna go for a draw on this one. I go a 1-1 draw. Galway United and Cove Ramblers, and Galway have actually not struggling against Cove this season. Though it wouldn't be the right term, but for the way they've played this season and the amount of goals they've scored, etc., etc., they have beaten Cove 2-0, but they've also beaten them 1-0, and there's been a 1-all draw. So they certainly haven't beaten Cove well this season, and I would suggest that they've done that to most teams this season, actually, on numerous occasions as well. So it's an interesting one in that sense, I suppose. Still one defeat this season for Galway. 70 goals, 13 against. Think about that for a minute. 70 goals, 13 against. It's incredible. They're too good in this league, in my opinion. They have an excellent squad, really good team all around, experienced managers, such Caulfield and Horgan in with them. And they proved, to be honest, over the two games against UCD, you can nearly say as such that, they'd be half decent in the Premier Division, even with the squad they have. I mean, in that first game was postponed, they were 2-0 up at half time, and they win the rearrange game 5-1 in UCD. And I know UCD aren't great and they've been struggling in the Premier Division this year, but it still would have to be half decent to be able to wipe the floor of them, particularly in the first half. You know what I mean? They were 2 up in the first half, obviously, in the first game, but they were 4 up in the first half of the second game. And it's not as if every Premier Division team does that to UCD either. So, like, there's just goals everywhere in the team, but it's amazing the amount of goals David Hurley scored this season. 18 goals, 16 in the league, 80 in all competitions. And, I think I've said it before, he's not what you would call a number 10 or anything like that, or a player that kind of joins up in the attack per se. You know what I mean? A lot of his goals, he has scored penalties, obviously, but a lot of his goals have been long rangers and stuff like that as well. And he does the nuts and bolts of the midfield work within that. So all around, he's been very good this season. Look, typically solid at the back, so we expected good from set pieces. So many players can chip in with goals. McCarthy, Walsh, Lamboto when he plays. Manley's come in and scored a couple of goals of late as well. So, and then all their defenders score from set pieces basically. Bruder, for example, as well. Borden has scored a number of goals this season. Hasn't scored in a while though. To be fair as well. So yeah, I mean, Cove will be happy with their position. Shane Keegan will be very happy with the squad they've assembled, and I wouldn't have expected them to be above Wexford and Bray, for example, at the start of the season. But they're on 42 points in third place and in a good position at the moment, aren't they? We've talked about Jack Doherty before and how key he is to the team, but they've been just very good as a unit all around this season as well. Warrow has done well at times as well. He's come in from Galway on loan as well. So, and I think they'll be very happy with the season. I do think it'd be a difficult one to go into Galway. Galway's confidence couldn't be any higher, could it? From what they've been doing this season. And Cole might be hoping for a bit of complacency in this one as well. They will make it difficult for Galway. The key is for Cove, you feel, is not to concede in the first 20 minutes. Now, you concede after 30 minutes, but you know what I mean? Do not concede early. And because Galway will feed into that if they score early, But having said all that, I do think Galway will win. It won't be easy, though. I think Galway might win this one by 2 goals to 1. Treaty and Kerry is an interesting one at Marcus Field because, last week Kerry held their own against Premier Division side Drogheda and were only beaten 1-0. They had a humdinger of a game earlier on in the season when Treaty went down to Monaghan Park and won by 3 goals to 2. But it was also 1-1 when they played in Tralee as well. So Kerry have done well in the home games, but they were hammered 4-0 in Treaty in late April as well, Kerry. They're not getting as many hammerings now as they were earlier on the season, Kerry, to be fair. And I would think that they probably target Treaty as an opportunity to win. But that said, Treaty still have more experience, in their team, and they're still a better unit altogether. On 30 points, so this is an important game for Treaty because they win here for Treaty, and they're putting themselves in the frame to be involved in the playoff race, and particularly if Wexford didn't win on that, you know what I mean? So they'll target this big time and say, look, if we want to properly get into the the playoff reign. We need to get the 3 points here. Kerry, I'd like to think, will take confidence from last week against Drogheda. Um, and I just think Kerry have nothing to lose in any game they play this season as such. They might think different down there themselves, but they have had one win this season and they are stuck in 7 points. Finn Harps are in 29, for example, who are ninth in the league. So, it's a strange one for Kerry because there is an element of they're happy to be there. Of course there is. And it is great that they're there, but they're trying to lay big foundations for the future and slow, proper foundations and, you know, just being in the league. And it's a good experience for them this year. I think it really is because they'll be able to look at next year and say, okay, in what areas can we improve? How can we improve? Without just spending money, which they won't have unless we're real about. But Treaty are a bit like that as well to a degree. Treaty are a little bit different because, you had the Limerick scenario, whereas if you like Kerry are a brand new club. I know Treaty technically aren't Limerick, but let's be honest, there's it is fed off Limerick, so to speak. So they'll be looking to win this game, and the Curran be looking to bag a goal or two, I'm sure. I think Treaty might do enough to win this game. I'll go for tight 2-1, but I expect goals. Finally, then Finn Harps take on Longford Town, and Finn Harps have showed a bit of improvement in recent weeks. This season, they've shared the spoils really. Longford they haven't. Sorry, Finn Harps have actually done very well against Longford this season. They've beaten twice in Longford and drew in Ballybuffet. So Longford have failed to beat Finn Harps this season in the league, and Longford at times has showed signs of improvement as well, actually, to be honest with you. They're on 31 points, Harps are on 29. Again, both teams are not far from the playoff debate, really. And a win will really push them into it. Probably don't score enough goals, both teams. However, in recent weeks, they've looked more likely to score goals. Magnusson has really come into form for Longford and looks sharp. But Longford's problem generally this season, and maybe this is highlighted actually the fact that they played Finn Harps 3 times already and failed to beat them, because for most of the season Finn Harps have struggled as well. But Longford tend to play better generally when they come up against the better sides, including Galway and Waterford. So, but it's these games really that they kind of have to get the points in, isn't it? Harps had a good win in the Cup, I thought, 5-0 against Skerries. You'd expect them to beat them, yes, but 5-0 is a good result even against a non-league team. They've got players that are playing well at the moment. Flood is playing very well at the moment for them. Shane O'Donnell's playing well for them. So they've got, players that maybe are settling into the task a little bit, possibly at Finn Harps. Longford, you could argue the same as well. It's a tough one because I do think both teams have had their problems this season, but both have more or less showed signs of improvement. So I think it'll be another draw here. I'm going to go 1-1 in Ballybuffet, or maybe Finn Harps might nick it, but I'm going to go for 1-1. So guys, let me know what you think in the comments. Give us your predictions for Friday's games. Let me know your thoughts on anything about your club, anything at all. Players have performed well this season, etc. Whether you're happy with your progress or not. I'd love to hear from Kerry fans, actually. Let me know what you think. Do you see a bit of improvement in performances and organisation maybe as the season goes on? Guys, subscribe to the channel, hit your bell notification button, and thanks for watching. Cheers. Bye-bye.